So this happened to me a little over 10 years ago, but I still think about it more often than I'd like to admit. At the time, I was 19 years old, broke, home from college for the summer, and desperate for some quick money. I had no job, barely any savings, and nothing better to do. So, like a lot of people back then, I turned to Craigslist. Yeah, Craigslist. Before we start, subscribe to Deepcode Diaries and follow us on Facebook and TikTok. We post the kind of stories that keep you up at night. Alright, let's begin. I was browsing the gigs section one afternoon and saw a listing that caught my eye immediately. It read, "Babysitter needed, one night only, 6 p.m. to 2 a.m., $100 flat, must have own transportation, no frills, no details. But $100 for one night? That sounded amazing to me. I clicked on the ad. There wasn't a phone number, just an email. So I sent a quick message asking if the job was still available. To my surprise, I got a response within 10 minutes. The tone was polite, straightforward. The woman said her name was Mrs. Sanderson. She and her husband needed a sitter that same night for their 5-year-old son, while they attended a formal event downtown. They couldn't find anyone last minute, and they were willing to pay in cash. She gave me the address. I Google mapped it. It was about 25 minutes outside of town, in a semi-rural area with old houses, long driveways, and big front yards. Nothing too remote, but not exactly suburban either. Against my better judgment, I said yes. That evening, I got dressed, packed a snack, and drove out. The sun was just starting to set as I turned onto a narrow, tree-lined road. The GPS told me to turn right down a gravel driveway with a broken street lamp and an old wooden sign that had no name on it, just the house number. The house was big, colonial style, a little run down but still beautiful in an old money kind of way. The lawn was overgrown and the porch light flickered a bit, but nothing screamed, "Run for your life." At least, not yet. I parked, walked up to the door, and knocked. A few seconds later, it creaked open. Standing there were a man and a woman, both dressed in formal evening wear. The woman wore a long black dress and pearls. The man was in a black suit, tall, with a thin smile. They introduced themselves as the Sandersons. They didn't shake my hand, just stepped aside and motioned for me to come in. It was weird, not rude, but not exactly warm either. Inside, the house was dimly lit, but clean. Very quiet. Almost too quiet. Mrs. Sanderson said their son, Miles, had already been put to bed. "He's a deep sleeper," she told me. "You won't have to check on him." Then she pointed to a baby monitor on the coffee table in the living room. She said, "Just keep that nearby. If he stirs, you'll hear him." I nodded. They didn't offer much more than that. No emergency numbers, no rundown of allergies, no bedtime routines. Nothing. They told me dinner was on the kitchen counter if I got hungry, and they'd be home no later than 2 a.m. And then, just like that, they left. Not even a goodbye to the kid. The front door shut behind them with a heavy thud, and I was alone. For the first hour, it was fine. I reheated the mac and cheese they left in the kitchen, sat on the couch, and started watching a bad rom-com on TV. The baby monitor sat next to me, hissing softly with that low, static buzz you only notice when it's super quiet. Around 9:45 p.m., I heard a faint crackle. Then, a whisper. I turned down the TV, leaned in. The voice on the monitor was low and raspy. I couldn't make out the words at first, but it sounded like someone whispering to someone else. Not a child. Adults. 2 of them. I remember the chill that ran up my spine. I stared at the monitor. It didn't have a screen, just audio. The red light flickered like it was detecting movement. Then I finally made out what the voices were saying.
She's here now.
Do you think she'll check the room? Let's see. I stood up slowly. My legs felt heavy. I told myself it had to be interference. Maybe another baby monitor nearby. That can happen, right? But something in my gut told me it wasn't that. I walked down the hall, heart racing. The carpet muffled my footsteps. Every door was closed, except one. At the very end of the hall, slightly ajar, a soft light spilling from within. I pushed it open. The room was empty. No child, no blankets, no toys, no sound. Just a dusty crib. And in the crib was a tape recorder. An old, clunky one, still running, still playing the same whispering voices on loop. I stepped back. The closet door behind me creaked. I turned, slowly, opened it. Inside was a single box, neatly labeled, Sitter Profiles. I opened the lid. Inside were dozens of printed emails, babysitting inquiries. Most had names, dates, times. Some were crossed out. Some had notes written in red marker. Didn't last. Too curious. Filed report. One of the printouts had my email, the message I had sent just hours earlier. Underneath it, scrawled in red ink, "She's here now." I didn't stick around. I grabbed my bag, ran out the front door, and didn't look back. I left the lights on, the TV running, the tape recorder still playing. As I drove away, I remember seeing the streetlight flicker one last time in my rearview mirror. When I got home, I locked every door and window, turned on all the lights, and sat on my bed, shaking. I didn't sleep. The next morning, I called the local police. I gave them the address, explained everything. Probably sounded insane. A detective followed up later that day. He told me they went to the house. But here's the thing. The house had been vacant for almost 5 years. The Sandersons had moved out after a missing persons case involving a teenage sitter back in 2008. No one had legally lived there since. There was no furniture inside, no food in the kitchen, no functioning power, except somehow the baby monitor. And in the back room closet, they found the same box, Sitter Profiles, and that same tape recorder, still playing.
She's here now. She's here now. She's here now. She's here now. She's here now.
Before hanging up, the detective asked me one final question. "Did you see the Sandersons leave the house?" And I said, "Yeah, I watched them walk out the front door. They got into a black car and drove off." There was a pause on the line. "That's interesting," the detective said, "because according to the dust patterns and shoe prints we found, the only footprints inside the house were yours." I don't babysit anymore. I don't go on Craigslist. And I don't keep baby monitors in my house. But sometimes, late at night, when the world is quiet, I swear I still hear static in the walls and faint whispers from the hallway.
She's here now. She's here now. She's here now. She's here now.
Let's see what she does next.
She a thirsty bitch, I wanna visit your dreams. You can see you hear it, you know that she's near when you sleep. I be under your bed and I hear you feel. She a thirsty bitch, I'm a thirsty bitch, real thirsty, like a snitch on me. Now wake up, wanna hear you scream. It's not a dream.